So for this B question, we're looking at describe different Jewish mourning rituals. So I'd be thinking about a B question, thinking, right, I'm going to be writing one large paragraph. With it being a describe, remember, we don't need to use the word because. We are not explaining, we are just describing. The only way I would mention the word because is if I am linking to a source of wisdom and authority. So in describing a Jewish mourning ritual and then saying they do this because, and then say somewhere from the Tanakh or something like that, a source of wisdom and authority. So with this question here, it says describe different Jewish mourning rituals. So you can interpret this in two different ways. You could think of different as meaning Orthodox and Reform, and look at the differences between their mourning rituals, or you could just look at it in meaning the mourning rituals themselves and talk about it from a general Jewish perspective rather than differentiating between those two. I'm going to do it the second way. You would still get 5 marks if you didn't differentiate between those two, because it doesn't describe Jewish mourning rituals according to Reform and Orthodox Jews. So I'm going to do just a general one. So I think the tricky thing with B questions is thinking about what to put in, because there are lots of different things we could mention for this. So straight away I'd be thinking, quick mini plan. I want to talk about how, I want to mention how 24-hour burial to be buried as soon as possible. I want to talk about the Shiva, the 7-day mourning period. I'll talk about Kaddish, the Kaddish prayer that they do. And then I'd like to mention the yard site candle. So I know that I'm definitely going to mention those things. So I'm going to start generally about the purpose of a Jewish mourning ritual. So Jewish mourning rituals. Help families show respect for the dead and find comfort. Right, you could mention here, you could start with the funeral and say that they will do a tear in their clothing, and then you could link that to a source of wisdom and authority. I'm just going to go to after the funeral because we're talking about the mourning, which is kind of the period after that. So I'm going to say after the funeral, which takes place within 24 hours. Here you could put a source of wisdom and authority in, and you could do from Deuteronomy, you must not leave his body overnight, be sure to bury him the same day. You could put that there. I'm going to wait a little bit because I like to think about the book of Job, which I'll come to in a bit, but you could put that one in there. Remember, you only need one soa for this. Close family members observe Shiva, and then say what Shiva is. So remember to define that. The 7-day mourning period, and then give a bit of information about what that entails. So a 7-day mourning period where they stay at home, pray receive visitors. And then they cover mirrors. As a sign of grief. And then I'm going to mention as well, they cover as a sign of grief, actually, and sit on low stools. And here I'll mention my source of wisdom and authority. So this is the only time I'm going to put because in a B question. This is because in the book of Job it states they sat on the ground with him 7 days and 7 nights. You could then say no one said a word to him because they saw how great his suffering was. You could extend that quote. However, they sat on the ground with him for 7 days and 7 nights would be enough to get you the 5 marks. Right, now moving on, we'll say, so mourners also recite the Kaddish prayer daily in the synagogue for at least 30 days. 11 months for parent to honour the deceased. And then I've got a lot of information here, so the last part I'm going to put is about how the yahrzeit candle is lit on the anniversary of a death. So the memory is carried on each year through the lighting of the yahrzeit candle on the death. Right, so you've got your source of wisdom and authority there. There's loads of sources you could use for this, and there's loads more information you could put in there. However, you'll be wasting time if you wrote a full page on a 5-mark question. So as I say, the tricky part is thinking about which parts to get in there. So Jewish mourning rituals help families show respect for the dead and find comfort. After the funeral, which takes place within 24 hours, close family members observe Shiva, a 7-day mourning period where they stay at home, pray and receive visitors. They cover mirrors as a sign of grief and sit on low stools. This is because in the book of Job it states they sat on the ground with him for 7 days and 7 nights. Mourners also recite the Kaddish prayer daily in the synagogue for at least 30 days, 11 months for parents, 11 months for parents, to honour the deceased. Their memory is carried on each year through the lighting of the yahrzeit candle on the anniversary of their death.